Hey, what's up? Hope everyone's doing all right. So this week's reading is First Chronicles 13 through Second Chronicles 7. This is my fourth time doing this video, and so I am just gonna make this one really brief. I'm actually just gonna go to bed and just make a really short, just a few minute video. I guess I'm gonna write it down as well, but there's a lot of things that I discussed in the last couple of videos. I just don't know if it's. I just have to kind of make sure that what I'm saying is correct and not like illegal or wrong or hurt some. And so the main idea that I have is that each king is going to be remembered for what they've done and what they haven't done. And so just like the kings in the Old Testament are remembered for if they brought out the temple or not, or if they allowed the burning of or the children to be passed into the fire of Moloch, or if they allow the burning of incense on different mountains, and if they took away all the graven images or not, if they did evil in the sight of the Lord and did all the abominations of the people that were before them. I think that the kings are going to remember the same way today. And one thing that instead of these things, or the way that these are worded, what a king I think will remember now is abortion should be illegal. I don't think that any abortion should be legal, and I think that the only thing that people say is like, what if the woman's life is under jeopardy? Well, that's not an abortion, that's a medical procedure. And if the doctor deems that, the prioritizing the woman's life over the child's life is the right thing to do, and that's what the woman wants as well, and the woman gets to decide, then that's not an abortion. Abortion is like the sole purpose of killing a child, a medical procedure where the doctor's trying to save the mom's life and the child's life, but prioritizes the mom's life and the child's died. That's not an abortion. That's just a medical procedure, and the outcome of the medical procedure is that the child ends up dying. It's not It's not trying to kill the child. It's just prioritizing the mother's life over the child's life, and the child dying of that decision. That's not an abortion. I think another thing is that you have images in the Old Testament, and they were burned down, but I think that like these images are probably ties to pornography, and I think that pornography should be illegal in the land. I don't think necessarily I don't know if it should be prosecuted. If the people that have pornography, they should just be taken away. And so I think that's pretty obvious. And you can police the internet the same way you police TV, and so like people have the illusion that the internet is like this free place to be able to put things, but Google controls it. It controls the search engines, and so the search engines are the ones that control what you see on the internet when you type in something. So the internet is already controlled. It just should be monitored and policed, and so there's no pornography, instead of allowing pornography to be proliferated through the internet. And so this would be something that I think one of the kings are going to remember as good or bad. I think that the Church of God is, we see like the dark ages of Christianity right now, where where Christians are splintered into different groups, and so there should just be one Church of God, and bring all the Christians together, and these other denominations of Christianity that you see should just be all brought under the umbrella of the Church of God, where you just use the King James Version and you stop using laws of men, but just use the laws of the Bible, and you use the King James Version of the Bible, and you bring up the Church of God, and we don't really have to have these other branches. And so bringing up the church is one of the ways that the kings will be remembered. Another thing is, you have this deception and this huge deception in the land about where we are, if we live on a flat earth or a ball earth, or like what's happening around us, and you have just all this deception that is rampant. And so taking away the deception, or allowing the deception to continue. And so this is like the worshiping of Baal in the Old Testament, but now it's just the worshiping of Lucifer, the worshiping of deception. And so if they, the king is going to remember, if they take away deception, or they allow deception to stand, if there's a good king or a bad king. And so, and then also you have like these, the public libraries, and it's okay to have books. I don't think you should outlaw books. I think it's just going to be more harmful to outlaw books than it would be beneficial. I think some things are better to outlaw, but some things you just don't want to do, because the outcome of people just going against it is not what you want. It's just going to make people want to rebel. But to pay for the government to pay for these houses of lies, where you just have like fiction of these different books and stuff like that, for the government to pay for that is just super silly. And so I think that you need to be taking away these houses of lies that are in every single city, when you have these different books that are brought up, and then when you have these houses of lies, they're kind of like, I feel like they just kind of remind me of in the Old Testament, where you have like these temples of different evil deities. I think that you have this in public libraries. I think they've become a pretty notorious place for evil to percolate, and because it's the books of it just is a house of deception, and so evil will go there and it will stay there, and it will affect the community from these different areas. And so I think that this is another thing that the king will be remembered as, good or bad. And so, like, you have this deception, you have these house of lies, you have the pornography, you have the abortions, and you have the building of the church of God. And I think there's other things that the king will be remembered for, but I think these are ones that are worth noting that should be easily taken down. And there's not really, I just feel like this is just kind of obvious. And the kings who don't do this are going to remember them for not doing this and for allowing evil to stand in the lands. And the king that fights against these and take these things away will remember for doing God's will. And I think that the man that is willing to stand up and do these things correctly will be God will put in charge if he can. And those that aren't willing will be taken away. Their will will be taken from them. At least I feel like this is a very likely possibility. And so just going through the different days, so every day of the week, and Monday through Friday, I have a main theme that was taken out of the readings. And so Monday I have David delivered. Oh yeah, another one that I think that's important is that, you want to put Christians in positions of power as the best that you can. And you can determine if a person is a Christian by their fruits. And so if they have good fruits, they're a Christian. And if they are bad fruits, they're not a Christian. So I think it's really important, as much as is possible and as much as obeying the laws of the land, you want to put people of Christianity in positions of power as much as you possibly can. And how you do that is between you and your Creator. But I think that, just the same within the Old Testament, they put Levites in positions of power of religious authority. I think that you want to put Christians in positions of power as much as you can in the structure that you have in the government right now. And so that is one other way that the kings are going to be remembered, is if they allow Christians to be put in positions of power, or if they don't allow Christians to be put in positions of power in the land. And so for Monday, I have David delivered Psalms to Asaph and his brethren. And so a lot of the Psalms and Proverbs I don't understand, but I think, I don't understand exactly what they're saying, but I think that if I did understand them, they would have pretty much all the reasoning or understanding that we have now. And so, like, I hear something like, a thief comes for your salary, but a deceiver comes for your, or a liar comes for your reality. And so a deceiver will steal away your money, but a liar or deceiver will steal away your perception of reality. And so a liar is also a thief. He's just stealing away your perception of what is real or not. And so this is a really profound statement that I don't necessarily can say, okay, where is this reflected in the Bible or Psalms or Proverbs? But I bet if I knew all the Psalms and Proverbs that I would be able to find this, or understood all the Bible, I'd be able to find this truth. And so for Tuesday, I have Hanun took David's servants and treated them shamefully. And so, like, right now in this common idea where when you treat in this, and in common demonology, or demonology, I don't know if that's the word, but in the way that people represent things that happen, you have like making fun of, right? So somebody makes fun of somebody, that's the same way it used to be stated when somebody treats them shamefully or dishonors them. But now they take the idea of treating somebody shameful or dishonoring them, you turn it into making fun of. And so that people can't connect this back in the Old Testament and how bad this is to make fun of somebody. It's the same way of treating them shamefully or in dishonoring them. And so some people are like, oh, I don't care if people make fun of me, or I don't care if somebody else makes fun of me. It's part of life, it's part of growing up. And so, like, it's okay for me to be able to make that decision that I don't care. But you're still God's son if you're a Christian. And so God, if just the same way you wouldn't want your son to be hurt, God doesn't want you to be hurt because you're his son, and so that hurts him. And so you shouldn't be okay with that. And so you don't need to receive a retaliation, because you're supposed to turn the other cheek. So you don't have to to take vengeance or to take retaliation for somebody making fun of you or treating. It would be the same way of dishonoring you. But you also don't want to be okay with it. You don't want to say it's an okay thing to do. So you don't have to seek vengeance, but you also don't want to be okay with it and say that it's an okay thing to do when it's not, because then you're lying and deceiving. And so for Wednesday, I have seek the Lord and he will be found, forsake him and he will cast you out forever. And so, if you seek the Lord, there will be rewards, but also if you don't seek him, then you're forsaking him and there'll be consequences. So it's important to remember that seeking the Lord will bring about reward, but forsaking him and not seeking him will bring about consequences. And so for Thursday, I have Zadok the priest. And so, you had the priest in the Old Testament, and Zadok helped David when Abiathar took over, and he also helped bring Solomon into power. And I'm pretty sure he was there for the dedication of the temple. But I think that's important. It's really cool to have the idea that, the priests were the defenders of the law of the land, and the prophets were the defenders of the spirit of the law. And so you have the priests were like the ones that, talk about the letter of the law, and then the prophets are the ones that talk about the spirit of the law. So you have these two different ideas, and you have these two different defenders of God's will and God's plan in the land. And so it seems to be the difference between like the priest and the prophet, at least for what I'm understanding. And so for Friday, I have, for thou only knowest the heart of the children of men. And so, we are to judge actions, but we're not here to judge the hearts of men. So we're not here to condemn and say somebody's going to hell, but we want to have righteous judgment and to be able to judge a man's act and to give judgment and punishment accordingly. And so, but I think it's important to differentiate between judging the actions of man and judging his heart. What's inside his heart? Because only God knows the heart. And it's important to remember you don't know your own heart and you don't know other people's hearts. And so just to be able to have that understanding between the two different types of judgments, the judgments of the actions of man and the judgments of a man's heart. And so we want to be able to judge man's actions, but we're not here to judge man's heart. That's for God to do, because only he knows it. All right, so that's what I have for this week. And so hopefully everyone's doing okay. God bless and happy truth seeking.